So I'm going to do a really simple push-up position. Go to one arm, go to the other arm. On one arm, this is something you don't have to, but it's something to feel. This idea of understanding using your bone structure versus your muscular force. So again, you're not going to do this in the handstand, but it's just to display how if I straighten my elbow, I can flop around the meats of my arm because I'm using the bone structure of my arm to hold myself up, as opposed to if I bend my elbow, I can't do that. It's a counterintuitive thing to do. Naturally, we want to bend. So that's one of the things you kind of have to unlearn when doing handstands, is how to push and lock out. It's people who are stronger, it's even less natural to lock out because you have the strength to hold yourself. But again, it's the difference between standing like this versus standing like this. No problem standing like this, but eventually my legs are going to get tired. So this idea of locking out the elbows, and for now it doesn't matter where your elbows face in the handstand. I'm generally going to say inside towards each other. I know a lot of people on the internet say they need to face forward. Everyone that does that I watch, they don't face their elbows forward, they face their elbows inside. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I face my elbows inside of my handstand, and I tell people to do that, so there's a consistency. So the elbows, very important. Second idea is how much to push from the shoulders. So I'm going to sink, and you can do the same thing with your ass up in the air. This idea of sinking and then pushing. And it's this idea that you hear this all the time, you have to push tall. It's true. Depending on your level of awareness, you may not have to push all the way, but if you let yourself sink, you have compromised your position. Like I can hold a push-up position pretty neutral right now. This would be my maximum push. It takes more effort. I'm very stable here. Here I'm no longer stable, right? You can see my back collapse. So if I were to hold the weight on my back, for example, I don't necessarily have to be here. But if I'm here, it's not good. And if I'm just learning, it's better to be here because what I think is here is probably actually here. So if you're, again, it's one of those things, if you're still new to handstand, you're better off just thinking about pushing maximally because what you think is a maximal push is probably pretty close to being sunken. And until you understand it in your body enough to do less. So that, like, personally, I don't like to be all the way pushed out, but you do have to have a buffer. And there is a point in your handstand that if you sink too much, it's really hard to find the position again. And then when you're learning one-arm handstands, if you get to that point, it's like you have to learn it all over again, but in hard mode, in nightmare mode on the video game. It's the same thing, right? You want to do this. You have to do this twice as much just to not move. Most likely this happens, and then you lose it. So it's life, playing with that push, just understanding it. You can go one arm if you want. And these are good drills, again, just to get used to putting weight in your hands, to condition the wrists, condition the shoulders.